The purple flames of the Zephyrian war cruiser lit up the dark space around Haven's Rest colony. High Commander Veltar stood on his bridge, watching the human settlement through the main screen. His forearms moved across the control panels, with practiced ease. The battle would be over soon. Shield strength of the colony? Veltar asked his weapons officer. Down to 60%, Commander. Following standard protocol, they should surrender when it drops to 40%. Veltar nodded his scaled head. This was how war worked in the galaxy. It had been this way for 3,000 years. Every civilized species followed the same rules. You fired energy weapons from a safe distance. You calculated shield strength and weapon power. When the math said you lost, you surrendered. Clean, simple, civilized. The Zephyrians had conquered 47 worlds using these exact methods. Their energy cannons were the most powerful in the galaxy. Their shields could deflect any known weapon. Their computers could calculate the outcome of any battle before it started. Any response from the humans? Veltar asked. Strategic analyst Kixara looked up from her data screen. She was smaller than most Zephyrians, with bright green scales instead of the usual purple. They sent a distress signal into deep space, Commander. Standard emergency broadcast. Asking for help? Veltar laughed, a sound like grinding metal. From whom? We studied their species. They are primitive. They still use chemical rockets for some of their ships. Their weapons are mostly kinetic projectiles, ancient technology. Kixara frowned at her screen. Something bothered her about the human databases she had been studying. Their history was strange. Every other species in the galaxy had a clear pattern. They developed technology, fought a few wars, then evolved past violence. War became a science with rules and calculations. But humans were different. Their history was nothing but war. Tribe against tribe. Nation against nation. Planet against planet. They had been fighting for 10,000 years and never stopped. Even their entertainment was about fighting. Their sports were combat. Their games were war. Commander, the weapons officer reported. Colony shields are now at 45%. Good. Prepare to receive their surrender, Veltar said. He had done this so many times. The colony would surrender. The humans would accept Zephyrian rule. Maybe some would resist at first, but they would learn. Everyone learned. Commander. The communications officer's voice was sharp with surprise. Long-range sensors detect a ship approaching very fast. Veltar turned to look at the tactical display. A single red dot was moving toward them at incredible speed. What kind of ship? Unknown class, Commander. It's huge. Much larger than any recorded human vessel. Kixara's data screen lit up with new information. Commander, the ship is transmitting a message. Put it through. The bridge speakers crackled with static, then a human voice came through. It was calm, cold, and spoke with complete confidence. This is Admiral Marcus, Kane of the USS Vengeance. You have attacked human civilians. Prepare for consequences. Veltar stared at the communication panel. Where was the request for negotiation? Where was the plea for mercy? Where was the offer to surrender? Communications. Respond to their transmission. Tell them we are willing to discuss terms. No response, Commander. They have cut communication. The red dot on the tactical display was getting closer. Much closer than any civilized ship would dare approach. Veltar had 12 cruisers in his fleet. Each one was armed with the most advanced energy weapons in the galaxy. His shields could stop anything. Time to intercept? He asked. 12 minutes, Commander. Veltar activated the fleet communication system. All ships, prepare for engagement. Standard formation. This will be a simple demonstration of Zephyrian superiority. But Kixara was still studying her data screen, and what she saw made her scales turn pale. She had been reading human military history. She thought she understood what she was seeing, but it seemed impossible. Commander, she said quietly, I think we may have made an error. What kind of error? We assumed humans fight like we do, like civilized species do. But their history, Commander, they have never stopped fighting. Not for a single generation. Every human military advance has been tested in actual combat. Their weapons, their tactics, their training. It's all real. Veltar dismissed her concerns with a wave of his hand. They are primitive, chemical rockets and kinetic weapons against our energy cannons. The battle computer gives us victory probability of 98%. But Commander, they're kinetic weapons. Kixara tried to explain, but Veltar was not listening. On the main screen, the human ship had dropped out of hyperspace. It was massive, larger than 3 Zephyrian cruisers combined. Its hull was dark gray, covered with what looked like weapon ports. But they were not energy weapon ports. They were something else. All ships, target the human vessel, Veltar ordered. Prepare to fire on my command. The USS Vengeance continued to approach. It made no attempt to dodge or weave. It did not request terms. It did not try to negotiate. It simply flew straight toward the Zephyrian fleet like a dark arrow. Commander, the weapons officer reported, they are not following standard engagement protocols. They are approaching to point-blank range. Then they are fools, Veltar said. Fire all weapons. 12 Zephyrian cruisers opened fire at once. Purple energy beams lanced across space, striking the human ship. The energy should have overloaded their shields instantly. Instead, the beams seemed to splash harmlessly against the hull. What? Veltar stared at the screen. How are their shields absorbing that much energy? Commander, the weapons officer said in a shaking voice. I don't think those are energy shields. The USS Vengeance had stopped approaching. It hung in space 50,000 kilometers away, close enough that Veltar could see details of its hull. And what he saw made no sense. The human ship was covered in armor, physical armor, thick metal plates that absorbed energy instead of deflecting it. No civilized species had used physical armor for 1,000 years. Energy shields were more efficient, but as Veltar watched, ports opened along the human ship's hull. Not energy weapon ports, something else entirely. What are they doing? He whispered. Admiral Marcus Kane sat in his command chair aboard the Mir, USS Vengeance, watching the Zephyrian fleet through his own main screen. His tactical officer, Commander Lisa Brooks, was running final calculations. 12 enemy cruisers in standard defensive formation, she reported. Energy weapons only. No kinetic defenses detected. Kane nodded. They fight like everyone else, in the galaxy. Same rules, same tactics, same weaknesses. Weapons ready, Admiral. Kane looked at the screen one more time. The aliens had attacked a human colony. 50,000 civilians were depending on him. In the old days, back on Earth, there would have been long debates about rules of engagement and diplomatic solutions. But Kane was not from the old days. He was from the new human military, the one that had learned from 10,000 years of war, the one that understood a simple truth. Sometimes you had to fight. Fire, he said quietly. The USS Vengeance fired its main guns, not energy weapons, kinetic weapons. Tungsten rods accelerated to near light speed by magnetic fields. The rods were simple pieces of metal, but they carried the energy of nuclear weapons. The first Zephyrian cruiser simply vanished. One moment, it was there. The next, it was expanding cloud of debris and vapor. On his bridge, Veltar watched his fleet's lead ship die and felt something he had never felt before in his 300 years of life. Fear. High Commander Veltar stared at the empty space where his lead cruiser had been. His mind could not process what he had just seen. The ship had not been disabled. It had not surrendered. It had been completely destroyed in less than a second. Report, he shouted at his bridge crew. The human weapon, it was not energy-based. His weapons officer said, his voice shaking. It was a physical projectile moving at near light speed. Our shields could not deflect it. That's impossible. No one uses kinetic weapons anymore. They are primitive, strategic. Analyst Kixara looked up from her screen, her green scales now completely pale. Commander, I have been studying human weapons technology. They never stopped developing kinetic systems. While we perfected energy shields to stop energy weapons, they perfected projectile weapons to go through energy shields. Veltar felt panic rising in his chest. All ships, evasive maneuvers, maintain distance, but the USS Vengeance was already firing again. More tungsten rods shot across space like invisible spears. The second Zephyrian cruiser tried to dodge, but it was too slow. The kinetic projectile punched through its hull like paper, and the ship exploded from the inside out. Admiral Kane watched the second alien ship die and turned to his tactical officer. "Analysis, Commander Brooks?" Lisa Brooks studied her readouts with professional calm. "Their ships are built for energy weapon combat only, Admiral. Thin hulls, large shield generators, no armor plating. They cannot handle kinetic impact." "What about their formation?" "Standard defensive globe. Every ship is exactly where their computers tell them to be. No creativity, no adaptation." Kane nodded. This was what human military commanders had always known, but the galaxy had forgotten. Rigid tactics worked fine until you met someone who did not follow the same rules. "Captain Murphy," Kane spoke into his communication system. "Captain." Jake Murphy's voice came back immediately. "Yes, Admiral. Prepare boarding parties." There was a moment of silence. "Sir, did you say boarding parties?" "You heard correctly, Captain. We are going to take one of their ships intact." Veltar watched his tactical display in growing horror. The human ship was not maintaining safe distance like any civilized vessel would. Instead, it was moving closer to his remaining ships. Much closer. "What are they doing?" he asked. "Unknown, Commander. This behavior does not match any recorded combat pattern." Kixara was frantically reading through human military databases. What she found made her want to hide under her workstation. "Commander, humans have something called boarding actions. They actually send soldiers onto enemy ships during combat." "That is insane. Who would risk their soldiers in such a way?" "Humans, Commander. They have been doing it for thousands of years, from their wooden sailing ships to their space vessels." Veltar could not believe what he was hearing. "No civilized species fights hand to hand. We have energy weapons, we have shields. Combat is conducted at safe distances with mathematical precision." "Commander," his communications officer interrupted, "the human ship is launching small craft." On the main screen, Veltar watched dozens of small ships pour out of the USS Vengeance. They were not fighters in any sense he understood. They were heavily armored shuttles moving fast and low, weaving between his cruisers like insects. "Destroy them," he ordered. His ships fired their energy weapons at the small craft, but the shuttles were too fast and too small. They dodged between the energy beams, using speed and unpredictability instead of shields. Captain Murphy sat in the lead boarding shuttle, checking his equipment one last time. Around him, 40 Marine soldiers did the same. They wore full combat armor and carried weapons designed for close fighting inside enemy ships. 2 minutes to target, the pilot announced. Sergeant Amy Collins, sitting across from Murphy, grinned, behind her helmet faceplate. "Think they will know what hit them, Captain?" "Doubt it," Murphy replied. "According to intelligence, they have never seen boarding actions before. Their ships are not designed to repel boarders." Tech specialist Ryan Torres looked up from his equipment scanner. "Captain, I am reading their ship layouts. Wide corridors, thin internal walls, no security checkpoints. It is like they built these ships assuming no one would ever fight inside them." Murphy shook his head. These aliens had no idea what real combat looked like. They had spent so long fighting with computers and energy weapons that they had forgotten the most basic truth of warfare. Sometimes you had to get close and personal. 30 seconds, the pilot called out. The boarding shuttle slammed into the side of a Zephyrian cruiser with a sound like thunder. Magnetic clamps locked onto the alien hull, and the cutting torch began burning through the outer armor. Inside the Zephyrian ship, alarms were screaming. The crew ran around in panic, not knowing what to do. They had never trained for this situation because it had never happened before in galactic history. "What do we do?" A young Zephyrian officer asked his commander. I do not know," the commander replied. Their training covered energy weapon attacks, shield failures, and system overloads, but no one had ever told them what to do if enemies actually came inside their ship. The hull section exploded inward, and smoke filled the corridor. Through the smoke came shapes that the Zephyrians had never seen before. Humans in full combat, armor, carrying weapons that fired solid projectiles instead of energy beams. Captain Murphy stepped through the breach first, his rifle ready. The corridor was exactly as Torres had predicted, wide, undefended, and full of confused aliens who had no idea how to fight at close range. "Secure the corridor," he ordered his Marines. "Collins, take your squad to the bridge. Torres, get to their computer core. I want this ship taken in 10 minutes. The Marines moved through the Zephyrian cruiser like a force of nature. The alien crew tried to resist, but their energy weapons were designed for ship-to-ship combat, not fighting in narrow corridors. The humans used tactics that the Zephyrians had never imagined: smoke grenades, flashbang explosives, and coordinated squad movements. Sergeant Collins kicked in the door to the bridge and found the alien officers huddled behind their control panels. They looked at her with wide, terrified eyes. "Bridge secure," she reported to Murphy. Back on the USS Vengeance, Admiral Kane watched his boarding parties take control of the alien ship in less than 8 minutes. It was almost too easy. "Admiral," Commander Brooks reported, "the remaining Zephyrian ships are pulling back to long range." Kane was not surprised. The aliens were trying to get back to their comfort zone, where they could fight with energy weapons at safe distances. But Kane had no intention of letting them recover. "Launch fighters," he ordered. "Sir, they are not really fighters," Brooks pointed out. "They are modified shuttles with weapons attached." "I know exactly what they are, Commander. More small craft launched from the Vengeance, but these were different from the boarding shuttles. They were faster, more agile, and carried weapons designed for ship-to-ship combat. But like everything else human, they did not fight the way the galaxy expected. Instead of forming neat squadrons and engaging in organized combat, the human pilots spread out and attacked from every direction at once. They used asteroids for cover, flew in unpredictable patterns, and coordinated their attacks without any apparent central control. Veltar watched his fleet being torn apart by tactics he could not understand. His energy weapons could not track targets that refused to fly in straight lines. His computers could not calculate the best response to enemies that seemed to make decisions randomly. "Commander," Kixara said quietly, "I have finished reading the human military databases." "What did you find?" "They have been at war for their entire history. Every human military tactic has been tested in real combat against other humans. Their weapons, their strategies, their training, all of it comes from actual fighting experience." Veltar finally understood what he was facing. Every other species in the galaxy had evolved past warfare. They had turned combat into a science with rules and predictable outcomes, but humans had never stopped fighting. They had turned warfare into an art form. "How many ships have we lost?" he asked. 6 destroyed, 1 captured, 3 heavily damaged. Half his fleet was gone, and the human ship had barely been scratched. Its physical armor had absorbed everything his energy weapons could throw at it. "Commander," his communications officer said, "we are receiving a transmission from the human admiral." "Put it through." Admiral Kane's voice filled the bridge, calm and professional. "Zephyrian Commander, you have 2 choices. Surrender now and be treated according to human military law, or continue fighting and be destroyed. You have 60 seconds to decide." Veltar looked around his bridge at his terrified crew. He thought about his remaining ships and the human vessel that seemed impossible to damage. He thought about the human soldiers who were probably still on his captured cruiser, studying Zephyrian technology and learning how to fight them even better. For the first time in his military career, High Commander Veltar made a decision based on fear instead of mathematics. "Send the surrender signal," he whispered. Admiral Kane looked at the surrender signal flashing on his screen and shook his head. "Belay that order, Commander Brooks. We are not accepting their surrender." Commander Lisa Brooks turned to stare at her admiral. "Sir, they are offering to surrender according to galactic protocols." "Galactic protocols did not stop them from attacking human civilians," Kane replied coldly. "They started this fight. We finish it on our terms." He opened a communication channel to the Zephyrian fleet. "Zephyrian Commander, your surrender is rejected. You attacked innocent people. Now you learn what happens when you wage war against humanity." High Commander Veltar felt his blood turn to ice. No one in galactic history had ever rejected a formal surrender. It went against every rule of civilized warfare. What do they want? He asked his bridge crew. Strategic analyst Kixara was studying her human databases with growing horror. Commander, I think they want to make an example of us. In human history, when someone attacked their civilians, they did not just defeat the enemy. They destroyed them completely so others would know not to try again. Veltar could not believe what he was hearing. But we surrendered. The fighting should be over. Not by human rules, Commander. On the USS Vengeance, Admiral Kane was implementing something the galaxy had never seen before. Total warfare. Not the mathematical precision of galactic combat, but the complete dedication to victory that humans had learned over 10,000 years of fighting. Captain Murphy, Kane spoke into his communicator. Yes, Admiral? How many prisoners did you take from that cruiser? 47 aliens, sir. They offered no real resistance once we were aboard. Treat them well, Captain, but I want you to show them something first. What would that be, sir? Kane smiled, but it was not a pleasant expression. Show them what human soldiers look like when they fight. Captain Murphy understood immediately. He gathered his Marines in the captured cruiser's main cargo bay, where the Zephyrian prisoners were being held. The aliens huddled together, their purple and green scales pale with fear. Listen up, Murphy told his soldiers. We are going to give our new friends here a history lesson. Tech specialist Ryan Torres had connected his equipment to the ship's main display screen. What appeared made the Zephyrian prisoners gasp in terror. It was video footage from human military history, Vikings charging into battle with axes and shields, Roman legions marching across ancient battlefields, medieval knights in full armor fighting with swords, World War II soldiers storming beaches under enemy fire. This is how humans have always fought, Murphy explained to the trembling aliens. Not with computers and calculations, with courage and steel. The videos continued. Tank battles from Earth's colonial wars, space marines fighting in the asteroid mines, urban combat on Mars, during the mining strikes. Every image showed humans fighting up close, face-to-face with their enemies. Sergeant Amy Collins added her own commentary. See how they keep fighting even when they are hurt? That soldier there just lost his arm, but he is still shooting. That Marine is bleeding from 3 wounds, but he keeps moving forward. The Zephyrian prisoners watched in horrified fascination. They had never seen anything like this. In their wars, soldiers retreated when they were injured. Combat stopped when casualties reached 15%. But these humans seemed to fight harder when they were hurt. Why do they not retreat? One of the alien prisoners asked in broken human language. Because retreat means their friends die, Murphy answered simply, and humans do not let their friends die if they can help it. Meanwhile, on the Vengeance Bridge, Commander Brooks was analyzing the remaining Zephyrian ships. Admiral, they are trying to withdraw to long range. They want to fight from a distance, where they feel safe. Then we do not let them feel safe, Kane replied. Launch all fighters full attack formation, but the human fighters did not attack the way any galactic species expected. Instead of engaging the alien ships directly, they began broadcasting on all frequencies. What they transmitted made every alien crew member stop what they were doing and listen in shock. It was audio recordings from human battles. The sounds of soldiers charging into combat, screaming war cries that had not changed in 10,000 years. The noise of human weapons firing. The voices of human commanders shouting orders under fire. Then came something worse. Human military music. Songs about fighting and dying for your comrades. Anthems about never surrendering. Battle hymns that spoke of death before dishonor. Dr. Helen Park, the Vengeance's combat psychologist, monitored the alien communications as the broadcasts took effect. What she heard confirmed her theories about galactic psychology. Admiral, she reported, their crew communications are showing signs of panic. Several ships report crew members refusing to man their battle stations. Why? They have never heard anything like our military culture before. To them, combat is a job. To us, it is a calling. They cannot understand enemies who seem to enjoy fighting. The psychological warfare was working better than Kane had hoped. 3 more Zephyrian cruisers stopped firing entirely, as their crews abandoned their posts. The aliens were not cowards, but they had never faced an enemy that seemed to welcome combat instead of avoiding it. Lieutenant Sam Rivera, flying his modified fighter, took advantage of the alien confusion. While the Zephyrian ships were distracted by the broadcasts, he flew his small craft directly into their formation. What he did next had never been attempted in galactic warfare. He began ramming their weapon turrets with his armored fighter. The Zephyrian weapons officer on Veltar's ship watched in disbelief as the human pilot deliberately crashed his small craft into their gun mounts, destroying them one by one. "He is sacrificing his ship to damage ours," the officer reported. "Why would he do that?" Veltar had no answer. In civilized warfare, no pilot would sacrifice his valuable fighter to damage a single weapon turret. The mathematics made no sense. But Lieutenant Rivera was not done. After destroying 3 gun turrets, he ejected from his damaged fighter and used his personal thruster pack to land on the Zephyrian hull. Then he began placing explosive charges on their shield generators. "There is a human soldier on our outer hull!" the weapons officer screamed. "Impossible! No one fights in the vacuum of space." "Tell that to the human, Commander." Rivera finished placing his charges and pushed off from the alien hull. The explosions that followed knocked out 2 shield generators and left the Zephyrian cruiser defenseless. Back on the USS Vengeance, Admiral Kane was receiving reports from all his units. The psychological warfare was breaking the alien fleet's will to fight. The boarding parties had captured 2 more ships. The fighter attacks had disabled 3 others. "Admiral," Commander Brooks reported, "we have received a priority transmission from Zephyrian High Command. They are ordering their fleet to withdraw immediately. Do we let them go?" Kane thought about the 50,000 human civilians on Haven's Rest colony. He thought about the message this battle would send to every other species in the galaxy. He thought about the future of humanity among the stars. Negative. We pursue. What happened next had never occurred in galactic history. A human fleet chased a retreating enemy across 3 star systems, destroying ships that tried to escape and capturing others intact. The Zephyrians could not believe that anyone would continue fighting after the enemy had tried to withdraw. The final battle took place near a Zephyrian military station. High Commander Veltar, down to his last 3 ships, made a desperate transmission to Admiral Kane. "Human Admiral, please. We acknowledge your superiority. We will pay compensation for the colony attack. We offer tribute and territory. What more do you want?" Kane's response was broadcast across the entire Zephyrian fleet and to their military command. His words would be remembered throughout galactic history. "Commander, you made a mistake. You thought war was about mathematics and technology. You thought it was about who had the biggest guns or the best shields. But war is not about equipment. War is about will, and humans have something that your species lost long ago." "What is that?" "We remember what we are fighting for." The last 3 Zephyrian ships surrendered not because their shields failed or their weapons ran out of power, but because their crews could no longer face an enemy that fought with such terrible determination. As Admiral Kane accepted the final surrender, Dr. Park made her report to Earth Command. Her analysis would change how the galaxy viewed humanity forever. The Zephyrians and other galactic species evolved past their warrior phase, she explained. They turned combat into a science because they wanted to minimize violence. But humans never stopped being warriors. We just became better at it. The battle was over, but the war for humanity's place in the galaxy had just begun. The news of the Zephyrian fleet's defeat spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. In the Galactic Council chambers on Nexus Prime, representatives from 50 different species gathered in emergency session. They had all received the same impossible reports. A single human warship had destroyed an entire Zephyrian battle fleet. Council leader Thexani, a tall insectoid being with silver carapace, called the session to order. "We are here to discuss the human incident. High Commander Veltar, please explain what happened." Veltar stood before the council, his purple scales now faded to gray with shame. Behind him, The main display showed tactical recordings of the battle. Honored Council, the humans do not fight like any known species. They use tactics that violate every principle of civilized warfare. Explain, Thexani commanded. They rejected our surrender. They pursued retreating ships. They boarded our vessels during combat. They fight as if, Veltar struggled to find words, as if they enjoy it. Murmurs of disbelief rippled through the council chamber. Meanwhile, 3 star systems away, Admiral Kane was dealing with a problem no human commander had ever faced before. The USS Vengeance was badly damaged from the battle, but they were deep in alien space with no friendly ports for repairs. Damage report, Kane asked his chief engineer. Main engines at 60%, Admiral. Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12. Shield generators are running hot. We need a starbase for proper repairs. Kane looked at the tactical display showing their location. They were surrounded by former Zephyrian territory, with no human support for weeks of travel. Commander Brooks had a suggestion. Admiral, we have captured 3 intact Zephyrian cruisers. Maybe we can use their technology. Their technology is completely different from ours. Tech specialist Torres spoke up from his workstation. Not necessarily, sir. I have been studying their systems. Their energy technology is actually more advanced than ours in some ways. If we could adapt it, Kane made a decision that would prove to be one of the most important in human military history. Do it. Strip whatever we can use from the captured ships. What happened next was something no galactic species had ever attempted. The human crew began rebuilding their warship using alien technology, not in a space dock with proper tools, but in the middle of space while potentially hostile forces could attack at any moment. Sergeant Collins led a team of Marines into the captured Zephyrian cruiser. Their mission was to remove the alien shield generators and somehow make them work with human systems. These things are twice as big as our generators, one Marine complained. Then we make bigger mounting brackets, Collins replied. Torres, how do we connect their power systems to ours? Torres was already elbow-deep in alien control panels. Their systems use crystalline matrices instead of circuits, but I think I can build a converter interface. Dr. Park watched the human crew work and realized they were witnessing something remarkable. Admiral, what they are doing should be impossible. Our technology and theirs are completely incompatible. Should be impossible, Kane agreed. But humans have been making impossible things work for thousands of years. The human crew attacked the problem with typical human innovation. When the alien shield generators would not fit in human mounting points, they cut new holes in the hull. When the power systems would not connect, they built new interfaces. When the alien computers would not talk to human systems, they created translation programs. Lieutenant Rivera, recovered from his spacewalk adventure, was working on integrating Zephyrian weapons with human targeting systems. Admiral, their energy cannons are more powerful than our kinetic guns, but their targeting is too slow. Can you fix it? I think so. If I bypass their automatic systems and connect directly to our fire control, we might get the best of both technologies. Back at the Galactic Council, strategic analyst Kixara was presenting her complete analysis of human warfare. What she had discovered made the assembled representatives increasingly uncomfortable. Humans have been at war continuously for 10,000 years, she explained. But it is not random violence. Every conflict has taught them something new. They learn from their defeats and improve their victories. All species go through a warrior phase, Council Leader Thexani interrupted. Then they evolve past it. That is what makes humans different, Kixara continued. They never evolved past warfare, they evolved because of warfare. Every aspect of their society is built around the idea that they might have to fight for their survival at any moment. She activated a holographic display showing human military development. Look at their technology progression. While we developed energy weapons for efficiency, they developed kinetic weapons for maximum destruction. While we created shields to deflect attacks, they created armor to absorb damage. While we built ships for long-range combat, they built ships for close-range fighting. What are you saying? Asked Representative Zolkar, a crystalline being whose species had not fought a war in over 1,000 years. I am saying that humans are not just another species with advanced weapons. They are warfare itself evolved into intelligent form. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Back on the USS Vengeance, the impossible was becoming possible. After 3 days of continuous work, the human crew had successfully integrated alien technology with their own systems. The result was a warship unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. "Power up the new systems," Kane ordered. The hybrid shield generators came online, creating energy barriers that were twice as strong as the original human shields. The modified weapon systems charged up, combining human targeting speed with alien energy output. The enhanced engines hummed with power from both human and Zephyrian technologies. Commander Brooks stared at her tactical displays in amazement. "Admiral, our combat capability has increased by over 300%. And we did it in 3 days in the middle of space," Kane observed. The Zephyrians probably spent years developing each of these systems. Dr. Park had been monitoring communications throughout the sector. "Admiral, I am picking up increased chatter from multiple alien fleets. Word of our victory is spreading, and not everyone is happy about it." "How not happy?" 3 different species have mobilized their fleets. They are calling it a threat assessment mission, but it looks like they want to test us. Kane studied the strategic display. Multiple alien fleets were converging on their position from different directions. Any one of them was larger than the Zephyrian force they had just defeated. "Recommendations?" he asked his staff. "We should withdraw to human space," Brooks suggested. "We are outnumbered 50-1. "That would take weeks," Kane replied. "They would catch us long before we reached friendly territory." Captain Murphy had a different idea. "Admiral, maybe we should not run." "Explain." "We just proved that one human ship can defeat a Zephyrian fleet. Now 3 different alien species want to test us. Maybe it is time to show the galaxy what happens when they all test us at once." Kane considered the captain's words. The logical move was to retreat and call for reinforcements. But logic was not always the human way. "Dr. Park, what is your psychological assessment of the situation?" "The alien species are scared, Admiral. Our victory over the Zephyrians has shattered their understanding of how warfare works. They need to test us to see if we are really as dangerous as we appear. And if we run, they will assume we got lucky once. They will keep testing us until they find our weakness." Kane made his decision with the same calm confidence he had shown throughout the battle. "Then we do not run. We show them that luck had nothing to do with it." He opened a communication channel to the approaching alien fleets. "Attention, alien commanders. This is Admiral Marcus Kane of the human battleship USS Vengeance. You are approaching human territory. State your intentions." The response came from multiple sources at once, 3 different alien commanders speaking for 3 different species, all saying essentially the same thing. They wanted to see if humans were really as dangerous as reported. Kane's reply would be remembered throughout galactic history. "You want to test human capabilities? Very well. All 3 of your fleets may attack simultaneously. We will demonstrate why humans do not need luck to win battles." As the alien fleets moved into attack position, the crew of the USS Vengeance prepared for the impossible. A single human ship against 3 entire alien battle fleets. But they were no longer just human. They were human plus, enhanced with alien technology, and driven by 10,000 years of warrior evolution. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when you gave humans better tools to fight with. The 3 alien fleets approached the USS Vengeance from different directions, their formations perfect examples of galactic military doctrine. The Hegemony fleet came from the north with 25 cruisers in a defensive wall. The Confederation approached from the east with 30 ships in a strike formation. The Alliance moved in from the south with 18 heavy battleships that were twice the size of normal cruisers. Admiral Kane stood on his bridge, watching the tactical display, as 73 enemy ships surrounded his single vessel. By every rule of galactic warfare, the USS Vengeance should have been destroyed in minutes. "All enemy fleets are in position," Commander Brooks reported. They are hailing us. Put them through. 3 alien voices spoke at once, their words overlapping, in a mixture of languages that the ship's computers translated into human speech. Human vessel, you are outnumbered 73-1. Surrender now and we will treat you according to galactic law. Kane activated his communications system. This is Admiral Kane. You came here to test human capabilities. Consider this your test. He turned to his crew. All stations battle ready. Show them what humans do when the odds are against us. The first shots came from the Hegemony fleet. 25 energy cannons fired at once, creating a wall of destructive power that should have vaporized any ship in the galaxy. Instead, the hybrid shields that Torres had installed absorbed the energy and converted it into power for the human weapon systems. Shields holding at 95%, Brooks reported, and our power levels are actually increasing. Kane smiled. Return fire, full spread. The USS Vengeance fired back with weapons that no ship in galactic history had ever carried. Human. Kinetic guns combined with alien energy systems created projectiles that were both physical and energetic. The tungsten rods were wrapped in energy fields that made them even more destructive. 3 Hegemony cruisers simply ceased to exist. Impossible. The Hegemony commander's voice crackled over the communication system. No single ship has that much firepower. You are fighting humans now, Kane replied calmly. We do not follow your rules. The Confederation fleet attacked next, trying to use their superior numbers to overwhelm the human ship. Their 30 vessels fired in sequence, creating a continuous stream of energy weapons fire. Captain Murphy watched the display from the Marine Command Center. Admiral, request permission to launch boarding parties. Against 30 ships? Yes, sir. We have learned how to use their transportation systems. We can board multiple ships simultaneously. Kane had seen his Marines do impossible things before. Permission granted. Show them what human soldiers can do. What happened next would be talked about in military academies across the galaxy for centuries. The USS Vengeance launched not 1 or 2 boarding shuttles, but dozens of them. Each shuttle carried a small team of Marines equipped with captured alien technology and human tactics. Sergeant Collins led one team onto a Confederation cruiser. The alien crew was expecting the usual polite surrender negotiations. Instead, they found themselves facing humans who had studied their ship layouts and knew exactly where to strike. Secure the bridge, Collins ordered her team. Torres, get to their computer core. I want their navigation systems. What are you planning, Sergeant? We are going to turn their own ships against them. While the Marines were taking control of enemy vessels, the Alliance fleet made their attack. Their 18 heavy battleships fired together, creating energy, beams that were more powerful than anything the galaxy had ever seen. The USS Vengeance took the full force of the attack. For a moment, even the hybrid shields flickered. Damage report, Kane called out. Shields at 60%, Brooks replied. But we are holding. Dr. Park was monitoring the psychological effects of the battle on the enemy crews. Admiral, I am detecting panic in their communications. They cannot understand why their most powerful weapons are not working. Then let us give them something else to think about, Kane said. Launch all fighters. Lieutenant Rivera led the fighter attack, but these were not the same fighters that had attacked the Zephyrians. Using alien technology, the human pilots had modified their ships to be faster, more maneuverable, and deadlier than anything in galactic history. Rivera's fighter squadron attacked the Alliance battleships using tactics that no galactic pilot had ever imagined. They flew inside the enemy formation, using the large ships as cover while they targeted weapon systems and engines. This is insane, the Alliance commander broadcast on all frequencies. They are flying suicide missions. No, Rivera replied over the communication system. We are flying human missions. The fighter attack was devastating, but it was not the end of the human surprises. On 5 different Confederation ships, Marine teams had successfully taken control of the navigation systems. Under Collins' coordination, they turned the captured ships around and began firing on their own fleet. Admiral, Murphy reported, we now have 5 enemy ships under human control. Use them, Kane ordered. The battle became chaos as the Confederation fleet found themselves fighting their own ships. The Alliance battleships were being torn apart by human fighters that seemed to ignore the laws of physics. The hegemony cruisers were being destroyed by weapons that their shields could not stop. In the middle of it all, the USS Vengeance continued to fight with the calm efficiency that had marked human warfare for 10,000 years. "Admiral," Brooks reported, "the enemy fleets are trying to withdraw." "Let them go," Kane said, "but not before they understand what they have learned today." He opened a communication channel to all three fleets. "Attention, alien commanders. You came here to test human capabilities. You have seen what one human ship can do against 73 of your best vessels. Remember this when you return to your homeworlds. Remember this when you consider attacking human colonies. Remember this when you think about making war against humanity." The alien fleets retreated in disorder, leaving behind 28 destroyed ships and hundreds of confused survivors who would spend the rest of their lives trying to explain what they had witnessed. 3 months later, Ambassador Claire Watson arrived at the Galactic Council with a human delegation. The council chamber was packed with representatives from every major species in the galaxy. All of them wanted to understand what humanity meant for the future of galactic civilization. "Honored Council," Watson began, "humanity wishes to join the galactic community as an equal partner. We offer our technology, our knowledge, and our protection to all peaceful species." Council leader Thexani asked the question that everyone was thinking. "And if we refuse?" Watson smiled, but it was not a threatening expression. "Then you continue to live in a galaxy where the strongest species preys on the weakest, where advanced civilizations conquer primitive ones, where might makes right. And if we accept, then you live in a galaxy where humans stand guard, where no species needs to fear extinction, where the strong protect the weak instead of exploiting them." The vote was unanimous. 6 months after the battle, Admiral Kane found himself promoted to Fleet Admiral and given command of the first human galactic defense force. The USS Vengeance had been joined by a dozen other human ships, all of them equipped with the hybrid technology that had proven so effective. Kane stood on the bridge of his new flagship, watching a patrol of human ships escort a convoy of alien traders through space that had once been controlled by pirates. "Admiral," Commander Brooks reported, "we are receiving a distress call from the Vega system. Slavers are attacking a refugee convoy." Kane did not hesitate. "Set course for Vega. Maximum speed." "Sir, that is outside our assigned patrol area." "Commander, when humans hear a call for help, geography becomes irrelevant." As the human fleet jumped to hyperspace, Kane reflected on how much the galaxy had changed. The old system of civilized warfare was dead. In its place was something new, a galaxy where the most dangerous predators had become the most dedicated protectors. The other species had spent thousands of years trying to evolve past their warrior nature. Humans had spent thousands of years perfecting it. And now, for the first time in galactic history, the galaxy's greatest fighters were also its greatest defenders. In the depths of space, human ships patrolled the trade routes. In council chambers, human diplomats negotiated from positions of strength. In military academies, alien cadets studied human tactics and learned that sometimes the best way to preserve peace was to be very, very good at war. The galaxy had learned that humans were not just another species with advanced technology. They were something new and unprecedented. Warriors who fought not for conquest, but for protection. Soldiers who used their strength to defend the weak instead of exploiting them. What Admiral Kane's final log entry summed up humanity's new role in the galaxy. "We came to the stars as explorers. We became warriors out of necessity. Now we serve as guardians by choice. The galaxy is safer because humans are here to fight for it." The age of civilized warfare was over. The age of human protection had begun.